Howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, the original YouTube shop teacher. Welcome back to the shop. And this is tips number 900. Would you believe that I have 900 of these? That's like a milestone, plus about 500 other videos that are not numbered, and 10 video courses that I have. So there's a lot of videos out there. So this number 900 here is entitled a revisited, detailed version of my fantastic auction in the autumn. Now I'm going to flash that on the screen now, so if you haven't watched the original one where I went to the auction, what this is rehashing, because that was a 35-minute video, and that was with me just rushing through these tools as quickly as I could. Some like it fast, some like it slow, but if you like it slow, what I'm doing here is going through all of the interesting tools one more time after I have had a chance to examine them and enjoy them, and make a few improvements and document a few things and show you some research that I did and all of that. So I hope you enjoy that. So maybe we'll start with this box, which might look familiar. I bought a bunch of precision tools at that auction, some great ones and some not so great, so let's look at them. Okay, I'm going to start with this box here, which you have seen before, but the detail will be greater. Again, Mitutoyo telescoping gauges, and I missed this in the original video, I believe, that there was an oddball that does not belong in here. And that is a full set. I still have to oil these. In other words, I need to take every one of them that has been in storage and make sure that they move freely by putting just a little bit of Starrett oil. Only Starrett oil will work. And this particular one is a Lufkin, just an oddball that got stuck in there by someone. Here's a 2-inch Starrett micrometer, and it looks pretty good, although it's marked. It's not great, but the problem is, actually it's no good at all, because it's stuck. Now, the corrosion, or whatever the sticky point is probably right down in here around the spindle. I've seen many of them that way. So, and I have another one here that's stuck. Now, this is from a different batch that a man sent me. It has nothing to do really with today's auction, but it's also a Starrett, and it's locked up tighter than a bull's hind end in blowfly season. So the corrosion may be here, or it may be here, because we should never store a micrometer fully closed. And I experienced that so many times at school, and my original micrometer was stuck and I got it freed up. So there probably will be a dedicated video sometime in the future where I work on these two, trying to free them up and talk about the original one that I freed up when I was 16. But other than that, if they cannot be freed up, they need to be thrown away or saved for parts, because the thimbles would probably come off all right. Here's a nice little Brown and Sharpe depth micrometer. Someone wrote depth gauge on there many years ago. A lot of these tools came in little wooden boxes with the sliding lids years ago, and I checked this just right now, just a minute ago, and it does zero out nicely. It is not satin chrome. I prefer satin chrome, but there's no corrosion on it, amazingly enough. I do not need to zero it. Do not need to use the little wrench that came with it, but there are also 2 other rods, so that this would be good for anywhere between 0 and 3 inches. If you put the longer rods in, it will not fit in the box. Okay, in this box is a Stanley 196 back plunger type of indicator. It looks to be in real good shape, although it certainly is an older model. Moves freely, no corrosion, and included in there were a couple of extra tips. Surprised they haven't been lost over the years. And looking at an older Starrett catalog, that's pretty much what it looks like, and but there are more things in this box than what we see right here. So some of them might have been extras, but this little number 564 here does not belong in there, and it doesn't work quite right, so I may take it apart, but here it is. They don't make that anymore, but there it is, a 564. Seems to me I saw one of those stems in one of these boxes, but I don't remember where. But also included are some of the other attachments. Oh, I take it, there's the other part for that little indicator. Oh, just now discovered that. And other parts here. I do not believe that this part here belongs with this, although it is a Starrett and has the beautiful case hardening colors on it. So that's a nice little addition to the shop. By the way, there's a lot of duplicates here. Some of this stuff may go up eventually on Pete Bay, who knows. So watch for that if I ever do that. Okay, and this box is a 2 to 3 inch micrometer, and it's a sheer Tomiko. I've been talking a lot about sheer Tomiko lately, and there's a nice one in the larger size, and I got the standard in there already, and it zeroes out, whoop, perfectly, and even has a little wrench. So that's every bit as good as a Starrett or Brown & Sharpe, and it has the ratchet, which clicks just fine, and the lock. Nice tool. And unrelated is this little sheer Tomiko 1 inch micrometer sent to me recently as a gift, and I'll talk more about it, but notice that they are virtually identical, except enlarged on a Xerox machine. Now here's a nice little 1 inch micrometer, old enough to where there's no satin chrome finish on it, and remember I could not identify it in the initial video, but it is a Brown & Sharpe. I cleaned it up right here, although there's still some corrosion, with the Scotch-Brite, and it zeroes out fine, and it would be just a good apprentice micrometer or beginner micrometer. It would be perfectly accurate. It just doesn't look as good as a newer one. A nice Starrett number 230 satin chrome 1 inch micrometer. A little bit of wear on it, but it would be perfectly good, and it does zero out. And it has the carbide faces, the lock, and the friction thimble. And it's not marked or desecrated with anyone's name. Now in the previous video I had quite a rant about the Mitutoyo cases where they use a foam in here. Now this foam is good, but all of the other foam has disintegrated and much of it has stuck to the instrument, and I have not got around to even attempting to clean it yet. But this is a mechanical digital, and it doesn't require batteries, and I love that. It's got the ratchet right here. It's a 1 inch to 2 inch. It has the lock, so you can read it either here or here. And I used to have some of these in the high school shop because I would use it to teach the micrometer. So I would say, guys, measure something and put your thumb over that and read it here, and then you can see the true answer right here. So if they were motivated and interested, it was an excellent way to learn how to read a micrometer. And this one even has the tenths back there. So I really hope that it cleans up. And I think I told you also that they made a version of this that was called the combo mic that would read in imperial here and metric here, or vice versa, metric and imperial. I had some of those at the school. They used a plastic here so that your body heat could not be transferred. And I have never seen a standard like this Mitutoyo, and I don't know why they put a window in it, but here it is to check to see if it zeroes out. And it's about 1,000th off. I checked it. I can't wait to clean this up. This will be one of my go-to micrometers, I believe.
Where's my nickel?
Just admit that you love these boxes. Come on, admit it. So there's a Starrett 436 RL 2 inch. No standard, but it's got the wrench. I haven't attempted to zero it out, but it does need a little bit of a cleaning up yet. Does everyone out there know what shim stock is? And this little packet here has, what, 5 pieces in it of different thicknesses from 1,000 to 5,000. You can get this in steel or brass. It looks like 1 or 2 pieces is missing, or they're so thin I can't get them separated. Very handy, many uses for this in any machine shop or auto shop for that matter. Now this protractor head for a combination square is a Brown and Sharpe. How do I know? I'm going by the color. It's unmarked. I'm going by the color, but experience has told me that the shape of this knurled knob here is a Brown and Sharpe. Now here's a Brown and Sharpe that is marked Brown and Sharpe. If I can get it around. I don't know why this one is not marked. This is satin chrome. This is not. This would be an older one, even though it's in extraordinarily good condition. But notice that the blade on this one would go off to the side like this, although this is a Starrett. Whereas this Brown and Sharpe, and they have bubbles, the blade comes through the slot. Now eventually as you travel through life, you'll identify this knob here as Brown and Sharpe, and this more common one as a Starrett. In fact, at the high school I had to buy these by the gross in little envelopes because the kids would immediately lose them and they'd be swept up, and eventually I even gave up on putting that little spring and washer, but those are Starrett nuts. So remember that. It might help you, and it's already helped me identify this, although the blade is a Lufkin. It's a Brown and Sharpe. It's a Starrett center head, goofed up myself, which happens to fit okay on rulers, but I do not think it fits on a Brown and Sharpe. So there's your little lesson on protractors of things you will never need to know. This Starrett RPM counter was in the box, and I talked about that it's either Bakelite, sometimes they're wood here, and that was made to insulate it in case you were near electrical equipment. You can zero it out in a manner such as that. Notice that the needle is a separate piece, so I think this one is a lot older than this model. They made several different models. Notice that the backs are quite different, as is the handle. The points are the same. This one, notice the little wart right here is positioned such that a man holding this up in the dark or overhead can feel this little bump as it comes around, and you will know that it's made a full revolution. So you can use this in the dark or a poorly lit factory. But this is the one that I just got, and I don't know why somebody either bought it or tried to sell it at a garage sale for $8.50. I was excited to get this old Federal dial indicator, which is a back plunger type, simply because it is marked International Harvester Company. So I do not know if this was used in a dealership where they were doing repair, or was it actually used in the factory. We'll never know. And it seems to work all right. And this is now number 3 in my collection of 3 dial indicators that are marked. This one given to me by a friend up at Arnfest. He lives in Michigan. Packard motor car. That's really neat, isn't it? Little sticky, but they're very old. You know, they haven't made Packards in 60 years. And this one is marked, and it's also a Federal Caterpillar tractor company. Sometimes a guy doesn't know if this was used at a dealership, or was it stolen from a dealership, or stolen from the factory, or was it at an auction, a Caterpillar auction, where they sell a lot of good stuff. Believe me, they just get it out of the way. Okay, so this is a Brown and Sharpe Swiss-made 6-inch dial caliper. in quite good condition, and it zeroes out. And as I said before, I'm the third owner, but the neat thing is the original owner was Paul Anderson, the strongest man in the country. Do you remember him? He could bench lift or whatever, like 430 pounds or something. For years he held the record at both Olympic and I think other records. Paul Anderson, raise your hand if you ever heard of him. Now I'm not done talking about this yet, so let me show you some other. Oh, I've got three other ones. So this one, notice how different the dial is. So that one doesn't zero out the way I like it to. It needs to be adjusted. But let's take a look at this one. Oh, that's exactly like the other one, isn't it? Who cares? Well, yet I have one more. And this must be a more modern one with the black face. And it's Swiss made as well. And it's been certified at one time, many years ago. I paid a lot of money for this Starrett planer gauge. I don't know what that is. I don't think it belongs in there, but this is a beautiful instrument. Got the little bubble in it, and it's got this two-piece, I'm not sure what this is called. I very seldom use a planer gauge, and for that reason I have two of them. Now this is also a Starrett, but there are no other accessories or parts for this, although this will fit in that hole, or I thought there was a third hole, I guess not. Oh yeah, right there. Now I do not know why this is not marked with a number or anything, but I do know it's the better one because it's ground on all sides where this one isn't, although we got the beautiful colors here. Notice also at the top here, it's totally different here, almost with a separate little track. Can you see that? Let me show you a couple pictures of these in older Starrett catalogs because they do not seem to show these anymore, but these were pretty expensive. And there are other companies that make them, and they are still expensive. This is a 30-year-old catalog, but there is a number 995, comes with all kinds of little doodads and accessories. And here are some pictures that show you the purposes or what you can use a shaper planer gauge for. And then on the next page there's one that's more like what I've got. And when they call it a 10-inch, yeah, it's called a 10-inch, they mean it has a 10-inch reach when you set it on end like that. And then there's still one more over here. This also came in the box. These did not. And I cleaned it up enough now to realize that it's a Lufkin, but it is missing the scribe and the universal adapter here. This is a shear Tomiko, very similar, and this is a Starrett. And it was also missing the scribe, and I simply made one out of a welding rod. It's not hardened, but it does the job. But originally on the Lufkin here, these little pins here didn't move freely, so I've got those freed up and I oiled everything, but it still needs cleaning up, and I'd like to take that paint off there. So it's nice to have a Lufkin. Now why do I need three of these? Well, I bought this box of drill bits, and there was other stuff in here as well, but it's been kind of sorted out. But what I particularly like in this box is that these are long drill bits. All of them are longer than jobber's lengths, and those are particularly nice. By the way, I've got so much stuff here. Remember, some of this probably will come up on Pete Bay. Maybe I said that already. Anybody know what these are? It's a whole little package full of wires, and boy, they're small diameter. I thought at first maybe they were tag wires to put paper price tags on because they appear to be tempered, but I have no idea the purpose of these. Should I just throw them out? But the real prize in here that my buddy Gary pointed out was, ton 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 ton, here is a tiny Albrecht keyless drill chuck, which I want to talk about considerably here because these are pretty rare, and I'm going to show you the price. This is over $500. Well, where would you use a little chuck like this? Let me show you first. And the capacity of this little chuck is only 1/16 of an inch. Most of you have seen my beautiful little Cameron miniature drill presses. Now these are not toys. These did not come from the freight store. These are well over $1,000 each if you had to buy them, but they're equipped with Albrecht keyless chucks made in Germany. Now that's a larger chuck than the other one, and this will hold 1/8 inch drill bits, and notice that it's smaller than the one that I'm just talking about. 1/8 inch, and then the other one is 1/16 inch, and it's this size. Let me show you some of the pictures now in a McMaster car catalog. No, it came right off of the internet, so the prices are current. Okay, these are the current prices out of McMaster car, and the very top one here is what I had shown you. That's number C15-JO, and it has a number 0 Jacobs taper, and it sells for $562. And there's the taper hole. So there it is with the 1/16 inch drill bit in it. It seems like you had to push the jaws back in. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that way or not. And it's marked Albrecht. Pretty nifty. Here's a tiny drill index, and these drills go from 60 to 80. And I already took the 80 out, and here it is in the Albrecht chuck. Now these have a capacity, and I showed you moments ago, 1/16 inch is the largest that it goes, and it will go down to 0, but I don't know how many thousandths the 80 is. Oh, I could look it up, but I'm not in the mood. So that's the kind of chuck you would need to drill tiny holes and this type of sensitive drill press. And what are the chances of not breaking this little bit? Alright, I'm done with Albrecht chucks. Question for you. Do you know what this country needs? Well, I do. It needs a good 9-cent cigar. You might find this interesting. Now, at the auction there was another jack just a little bit bigger than this, but it was missing the swivel on the top, so I just left it lay. Now I wish I would have brought it home because that would have been a project. But I just love these little bottle jacks. But you know what I discovered on this, and this is amazing, hang on to your hat. This, as I was examining it and cleaning it up and turning it over, is made of brass or bronze. Now, why would they have done that? But I do love this. I like the crisscross pattern there and the big coarse thread. And in fact, it's not an Acme thread, it's a square thread. And they're a bugger to make. And it even has a little thrust washer here out of bronze or brass. So this really is neat. I'm loving that. But all right, I think I already had one of those. Oh, the one I had a handle on it, I believe, like this. But these are shop made, and I'm going to show you something interesting. Probably a school shop, no probably about it. These are from a school shop. But on the one here, look at the thread. That is a double thread or a triple thread. It's a worthless thread. Bad knurls. No, this is a good knurl. That's a bad knurl. Of course, this would have been a 14-year-old boy making this. But the interesting thing is, look at how fine that thread is. Well, as soon as I take this off and we look into the bore, if you can see that, that's a coarse thread. So why do we have a fine thread going into a coarse thread? Because in fact, this is a 5/8 thread in reality. And we don't know what the heck this is. It's just a buggered up thread. And one other thing about it, it should be 5/8 in diameter. And in fact, it's 545. So it's the wrong diameter. It almost looks like a multi-start thread. But that's just for a laugh. That really doesn't mean anything. But as a shop teacher, this is often what you were going to see. And the kid, I'm sure, the student was probably quite satisfied. Oh, that's a good fit. Works great. This one, we won't get into that. But this is a rather elegant curve there and very well done. You know what, I just looked in my drawer and I do have another one of these. So now I have a matched pair. And it did not have a handle on. I was delusional. Okay, I showed this before. And I don't know why the box is marked off. Maybe that's not the original box, I don't know. But all the parts are here. Remember, I initially was pouting about this, and then when I examined it closely, it looks kind of beat up here, but it is marked Craftsman. And this is the way my Craftsman Wiggler was packaged, and I bought this in 1966 when I worked at Osborne Engineer, still in perfect condition. So they were already using little plastic containers or vinyl pouches like this way back then. It makes sense, very easy to keep track of them in your toolbox. And the little Starrett 827A edge finder, and I've told you before that I love the 3/8 diameter rather than the half, and I like this because it's 200 thousandths in diameter, and half of that is 100 thousandths, so you can do all that little math in your head when you're finding an edge just by adding 100 thousandths to the radius of whatever it is you're drilling through. So in that box of drill bits were these tiny little tapered reamers meant to ream holes for tapered pins. And some of these are really tiny, and whatever in here is in here, it's that long. From here to here, yeah, it's probably the same size. And these are Cleveland brand. It's a 6/0. Let me show you some tapered pins. You know what, I don't think I've ever talked about tapered pins, but these are something like dowel pins, used the way dowel pins are for alignment, and they come in different sizes and different lengths. These aren't in very good shape, and I don't even have any small enough to show you. Boy, these are horrible to fit these. But as long as I'm talking about that, let's take a look at this complete set of taper pin reamers that I've had for some time. Matter of fact, since 2015, given to me by Jack, and these are almost brand new. Well, not almost, they're in the package, most of them, and the smallest ones here are really quite a bit, I think that's the smallest one that is in there, but these are even smaller. And then on the lid here, it tells the different sizes and numbers. I should do a video. Raise your hand if you want a video on that someday. As I showed you earlier, this little Starrett indicator isn't working quite right. So let me take the cover off and see if we can see anything that's simple to fix. Otherwise, I'm throwing it out. Okay, I took the cover off, and there's a spring right here. That's the needle, but it looks like the spring is not connected to anything. It's either broken off, or I would have thought that this little loop or bend here maybe goes around this pin, but yet it's captured here behind this screw. I'd like to take my other one apart to see how it's made to compare it. I've got a million taps and dies and tap wrenches and die stocks, but so why did I buy this? New Lesotho round die screw plate. Well, I bought it strictly, as I said before, because of this Greenfield. And, you know, I don't know why it says all of this stuff here, because some of these items are Greenfield, so I think they just repackaged things. Not in the best of shape, but I love these Greenfield. There's the trademark. Tap wrenches, they came in many different sizes because they got the beautiful color case hardening. These are kind of nice, and it's a real long handle, and it's also marked Greenfield. It's got the collet here that can be adjusted. But what I wanted to show you, well, there's a couple things missing here apparently, these empty slots. I don't know what it would be. But in these older sets, none of these taps and dies are ever high-speed steel. So here's an example of a Greenfield, major brand, 3/4 tin. It is not marked HSS, which means that it's carbon steel, and I would not want to use it. Maybe it's dull already, but this is still kind of a nice set in a wooden box, and they call that a screw plate. I might talk about the origin of that word sometime. No plastic. Just one more thing. I'm sure you all know the purpose of a pin vise. They come in larger sizes like this and smaller ones, and even much smaller. These come in sets, much smaller than these pin vices. But these are similar in a way to a hand vise, although pin vices hold something round. These can hold something more irregular as you work on it, tighten your work in there. But remember, this just came in that box of stuff, and I think it is so elegant. And a couple things worth noting. The spring, instead of having a spring in here, this is the spring. And then you can tighten your work. A jeweler or somebody working on very fine things might use something like this. But another thing I like about it is so elegant in appearance. This is tapered with a ball on the end. What the hole is for, I do not know. Maybe a wire or something can go all the way up and through. But the other thing, not only is this tapered and elegant and beautiful, but it's a octagon, not a hexagon. It's got 8 sides. They went to such an incredible effort to make tools not only useful but beautiful, back when a lot of this work had to be done by hand. So I'm rather liking this for my little collection of smalls. What do you think? Which looks better? I know that was a long and tedious video. I hope some of you watched the whole thing. If you did, put it in the comments if you watched the whole thing. And watch for a video coming up on the Johansson Commander. Makes me want to salute when I say that. The Commander multi-spindle drill press attachment. So I got a complete video on that, taking it apart, showing the innards and all that. So thank you so much for watching, and please continue to support my channel by watching and giving me a thumbs up and becoming a Patreon. Just kidding. You don't have to be a Patreon member to get all the content free. All right, Mr. Pete's, so long for now, and I'll see you next time.